And so we've come to the end of the road, and I won't let go. Sing it with me now, everyone. Sing it with me. Sing it with me. If you want to come take a ride with me, Nelly style, down the boys to men lane, right? I think we'll all appreciate that. Raising boys into men. Great initiative, great narrative. Could sell that for some money, absolutely. Boys to men, sexy guys, not my thing, but maybe kind of my thing. Not sure, is it your thing? As we always start these sessions, just look at yourself in the mirror and say, woofity woofity, I am the big dog. Say it in an aggressive manner, say it in a passive manner, say it in a passive aggressive manner, I don't care, but you are the big dog, you are the big cheese, woofity woofity. Here we go. End of the road. We're coming to the end of the road. It is the end of financial year. When will this get released? On a Sunday? Yeah, actually, like the 30th of June, this should come out. So this is the end of financial year 2024, EFS, EFY, whatever you want to call it. And how was your year? I want to just ask that question as, how was it? Was it good? Was it great? Did it suck? How did it go business-wise? How did it go professionally? How did it go personally? And, you know, if you had your time again, would you do something differently? And I don't mean, I think there's like, we all know that person, or sometimes we can get stuck in those modes that you regret something or coulda, shoulda, woulda. I'm not a big regret person. You got to look ahead and look forward and stand on top of the lookout and go, what's ahead? And I think you've got to have that sort of optimistic personality, but you also can't bury your head in the sand. You don't want to be a pessimist, but you don't want to be too much of an optimist. You want to be in reality with confidence moving forward. Now, my encouragement to you is what needs to change and how did your year go? Now, on this, you often see people, and I was like anyone else, you know, I'm just like you. I'm just a common man like you, just a common legend, but I'm just like you, or a common woman like you. I mean, I'm more of a him, he, him than they, them. Each to their own, though. There's all love here from this platform. But going through, I mean, we've all had that year where you're like, yeah, that financial year where you're like, oh man, it just wasn't what I thought. And my encouragement to you is don't go through that hamster wheel again. Don't go through that dryer again. Don't go through that washing machine again. Don't go on that run again, chasing the dragon, chasing the 1 year that was good in 2019. What's the bet I can throw a football over those mountains? Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite style. Am I right? Don't just hit and hope. You just swing. I don't know, there's probably like a terminology in cricket or baseball about hit and hope, or I was going to say swing and a miss, but it doesn't feel right because, or maybe it does feel right. Maybe you're swinging and you're missing and you're like, you know what, if I just try harder, if I just try and hit this harder, if I just work a little bit harder, if I just sweat a little bit harder, if I just push a little bit harder, if I just work a little bit harder, push a little bit, and I just get those hours up and, you know, I'm doing 40, 50 hours, maybe if I do 60, 70 hours. And, you know, sometimes you can get stuck in these sort of like, this rhythm, and I don't know if before you've ever been stuck in a good rhythm, but you can get stuck in a really negative rhythm. I think in the office is really interesting in this line of thought where, you know, there's days you're in the office and, you know, you might as well be a piece of cardboard. You're just not achieving anything. It's like, I've been staring at these plans for 2 hours. I've been looking at Facebook. I've been on Instagram. I've been reading about some obscure disease in the southwest of France. It's probably not even a thing. I'm conspiracy deep in conspiracies. Whatever you're doing, I'm knee deep in Game of Thrones or whatever people are watching these days. Never seen Game of Thrones, by the way. I know that might be quite offensive to some people. Never seen Star Wars either. Wow. I don't know how that sits with you. But I've seen Old School and Wedding Crashers a lot, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, you know, just don't get stuck in that rhythm. Don't get stuck in those, in that bad rhythm. But I know we've all been in the office sitting there just being like, wow, you know, a genuine pencil would be better off than what I'm doing right now. But I know also on the flip side, you've been in those zones where it was like, you know, I got in there and I smashed it out. I got it done, and I was just in rhythm, and I got the quotes out. And I want to ask you the question. You know, ask yourself the question: when you're in rhythm, what are some key, what is the common denominators? So you might find, that time I was in rhythm, I'd had my second coffee. Or the time I was in rhythm, it was in the morning, I'd had some exercise, I'd got up and it was before everyone or it was during everyone. I allowed 7 to 8 for some space, some phone calls, and then, 8 to 10, I just do not disturb, phone in the mountains. I'm just going to get this thing done. Or you might find, it's because I was organised with a schedule. I think you'll find there's a common denominator in terms of when you're doing really well in the office. And I found for me, I was opening the computer between 8 and 10 every night and just staring into the abyss. Legit piece of cardboard would have been more valuable than me. But I was working really hard. And that's the age-old story of I was working really hard. But are you working smart? And the smart person, the smart cat, the smart rat, if you want to be a bit of a rat, maybe you want to be a rat. Rats have some positives too. Rats are people too, you might even say. But, ask yourself the question, why was it going well? Maybe you had time, maybe you had space, maybe you had energy, maybe the effort was there, maybe the deadline was there, maybe you're a deadline person, maybe the pressure was off, or maybe the pressure was on for workload and you had to get that done because it was ride or die, Fast and the Furious style. I saw most of Fast and the Furious at the movies because we had a group of mates that were like, it was the most ridiculous franchise that's ever existed, in my opinion. Like, the best movies, but the worst movies. I remember seeing Taken 2 or Taken 3. I don't know if there was a Taken 3 at the movies, Liam Neeson, kind of vibes. And the whole cinema's like just piercing themselves laughing at this serious movie that's become a parody. And I guess Fast and the Furious kind of took that turn as well, right? It was like a serious movie that legit just turned into this parody that was so awful, but so awesome at the same time. I remember seeing Vin Diesel and The Rock tackle themselves through walls. I'm like, is there no timbers in these walls? Like, are you flying through gyprock? Like, what kind of person built this place with no studs, no noggins? What is going on, right? Is there power in that wall? Is it data? Did you just wreck that? What happened here? Anyway, Vin Diesel and The Rock, what a time to be alive. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, recognising when you've been productive. So going through the end of the road, the end of the financial year, and chances are, if it was what you didn't want, then what needs to change? If it was what you wanted, in other words, we had a great year, then how does it happen again? And there's many factors that go into the growth stage of the business or the stabilization phase of business. I would say at Sparky Coach, we are experts at the stabilization. I think a lot of coaches preach, let's just face it, a lot of the coaching companies preach revenue. And while revenue might be a good indicator, revenue is simply vanity in a way. It can be a great indicator that things are moving forward. It can also be an indicator that things are moving forward, but we're not as profitable as we used to be, or we're not even profitable, but hey, our revenue's up. And I want to just call it out for what it is. I mean, you would have heard enough of me to know that I just hate the coaching industry, like with an absolute passion. I almost feel like my life mission is to expose it and also to create something really special. And that's why we created Sparky Coach. But, you got to think revenue for coaching companies, I've 10x my rev, or I got this much sales every single week. It doesn't really mean anything. Like, I could get 100 grand of sales this week and it could cost me 120 grand. I could get 200 grand of sales this week. It could cost me 400 grand. I just misquoted it. I landed the job, but I got it done. Revenue up, profit down or non-existent. And revenue is the low-hanging fruit that coaching companies preach to basically get you interested in their program. And it just sucks. Like as a coach, there's a certain element of responsibility, right? You see it all the time, like, our program helps people get good stuff. And I'm like, get stuff. like it doesn't even make sense. Like yes, there's things you can do to get better staff, but sometimes I think the coaching industry's got a lot to be accountable for. As a coach, I could sit here and just be like, pay your staff members $60 an hour, $70 an hour, whatever, and you're basically like, town standard might be 50 or 45 or whatever it is. It's kind of irrelevant. But I could just say paid $10 and $20 over, and I'm like, well, our people are attracting this. Our people are getting this, and it's like, yeah, because we're overpaying these people, and now we've changed the whole town for the worse Or now we've got people dropping donuts to real estate agents and doing this and doing things at ungodly prices for revenue. But revenue is such a cooked measure of how to measure something. You're way better off, like, it's an indicator. It's an indicator. I'm not saying it's not an indicator, but too often people place that on the top mantelpiece, and it's not the top mantelpiece. It's like what else is going on? Like, how many hours are we working? What's the profit? What's going on in every single job? What's the growth stage of business? Like, is it actually working or is it not working? Because if you are not stable, right? If you don't have a good foundation, it doesn't really matter how much you grow if you're not making money. So if I buy a t-shirt for $1 and then sell a t-shirt for $1. Yeah, oh, sweet. Like, I don't make any money, obviously. And let's say I grow the business based upon this business model. And I start selling 10 million t-shirts I buy them for 10 million and I sell them for 10 million. I don't make any money. I've got a business of 10 mil rev, but it's cooked. It's such a cooked measure. There's so much going on behind there. And, even like the profitability of job, measuring billable hours, like even the hours are subjective in a nutshell. Like, you might be like, I lost money on that job. Well, my question is, did you mishandle it? Like what happened in the pathway of the job? Was it the same crew, full days, consecutive days? Was variations charged for? Were you working on top of a pile of rubbish, on top of a pile of gyprock with 50 other people on site? Like, was it a productive? What were the quality of those hours like? We're not just looking at hours and efficiency, but we're looking at the quality of hours, because hours and quality of hours are two completely different things. So we just want to basically, at Sparky Coach, get everyone stable, aware of what they're charging, aware of how the job was quoted, how the job needs to be handled, how the job went, and then reflecting. Do I do this again, the same, or do I do it again but different? And that's the interesting part about business. That kind of never ends, right? The finding work, the converting work, the measuring work, the management of the work, and the office work won't end. It'll keep going, just like the dishes do, just like the washing does at your house. It just keeps going on and on and on, like that Lamb Chops play-along song. Anyone? Any like late 90s Lamb Chop heads out in there? Speak about a time to be alive. Lamb Chop was a time to be alive, right? Anyway, so it's like getting to the end of the financial year, so often we're like, I missed the mark. And miss the mark might be, I was expecting 300 and I got 200. I was expecting 200, I got 100. I was expecting 500, I got 300. And what I want to say is, like, why would you want to grow if your business isn't performing at its current standard? You need to get in there, rip out and strip out, grip it and rip it, and be like, find out what's working, find out what's not working, keep doing what's working, and stop what's not working. And what's not working might be a staff member, might be a client, might be a way of pricing for you. On the way of pricing, there's no one way to price things. You can go off a price book, you can go off a cost estimation, you go off cost plus. Sometimes you're making more money through materials than labour. Sometimes, more often than not, specifically electrical, it's labour over materials. It's basically like a 70-30 split, usually. But if you know your numbers back to front, if you know not only your numbers back to front, if you know how to handle this job, you'll be able to present it in a different way. You might be able to skin the cat in a different way, slay the beast in a different way, present the option in a different way that preserves the profit markup or margin, whatever you're working off, preserves that, but does it in a different way, does it in a different style, and does it in a different manner. And you have to know this stuff. You've got to know, like, it's like you have to picture it like poker. Every sort of client and sometimes every job is a little bit different, and how am I going to play that? Like, and that depends on what you picked up. Did you pick up no work for the next year? Did you pick up I got no work next week? Did you pick up I got heaps of work next week? Did you pick up more labour than materials, more materials than labour? Or we've got plant and equipment on this job, we're renting our scissor lift out, our chaser out, our digger out, we're renting on this job where we've got subcontractors coming in here, we've got home automation, bang bang. So like, find out what's working, and the only way way to peg that back is to work out how the days are going and how the jobs are going, right? So it's so funny, and it's that age-old spiritual equation. You know, if you're faithful with little, you can be faithful with much. If you're doing good with little, you can do good with much. If your business is profitable at the little, and it's like the little turnover, and you're doing some good things with the profit, then how do we maintain that as we grow? And yes, there's things that come into it, like different size of companies, different level of balance, different operating expenses, all that kind of stuff. That's the fun of the journey. That's the joy of the journey. That's the magic in the mundane. That's the magic of the mundane. And find magic in what you do every single day. That's what I encourage you to do. Don't be bored going to work. It should be kind of fun. Like, if you're not having fun, ask yourself, why are you doing it? Because if you love what you do, then you'll be probably excellent at it. You'll be doing it with an excellent attitude, and you'll be presenting yourself in an excellent way every single day. So I encourage you to find the joy this next financial year. Find the joy, find the magic in doing the same thing. Maybe you can do the same thing. Maybe you just need to do it a bit differently. Maybe you need to let go of that client, or pick up a certain client, or let go of that staff member, or pick up a certain client, a certain staff member. Sometimes when you see someone first come in the office, so usually the admin release will happen at like, I don't know, like two tradies, like maybe 2 to 3 staff members. The admin will start to get released maybe 2 days a week, 3 days a week, something along those lines. Obviously work's dependent, a lot of real estate work a bit earlier, a lot more builders, sort of like developers, commercial stuff, maybe a bit, you can handle a bit more of yourself on your own there. Every business, to be honest, a little bit different. On that, we coach a lot of people across a lot of different industries, like electrical, aircon, solar, but, you know, that's such a diverse range. Are they working rural? Are they working city? Are they working commercial? Are they working industrial? Are they working residential? What's the competition like in the area? What's the hourly rates they're paying in that area? What's the hourly rates to get charged in that area? What's the typical nature of the person they're dealing with in that area? Oh, there's so much factors going on to it. Like some stuff in, you know, I'm absolutely convinced, and I did this myself, you can grow a business with 0 Google reviews. Like, of course you can. It's not a necessity to life. It's not oxygen. Oxygen is your product is at a high level, your people skills are at a high level for staff and clients, and your numbers are correct. That's oxygen for your business. Anything else, I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'm like, what's oxygen? Anything else is Mars, baby. Yeah, anything else is a bonus. And do they work and do they matter? Yes. Is it absolutely an essential part? I don't know. Like, maybe not. Like, probably not, to be honest. But you got to look at it, like, try and work out last financial year what's working, and then you go, okay, sweet, back to my faithful with little, faithful with much kind of thing. So often we want the big results, don't we? We want that big job, or we want that big profit for the year, or that big wage, or that big car. I don't know if you've been to Hawaii before, but they just drive the biggest cars over there. There's not a car person. Give me a Kia Carnival any day of the week. I'm like, this is the best car on earth. Actually, I've got an 82 Land Cruiser 60 series. Doesn't go over 80 kilometers an hour, but God bless that thing. What a time to be alive. Anyway. So often, don't you reckon, as business owners, we want the big? So you look at the year and you're like, 300, thought it should be 360. 200, thought it should be 260. 100, thought it should be 160. Or insert your thing there, you know? And I want to encourage you, you've got to look at the little. Everyone wants the big, but look at the little. So start breaking down your days, right? If you've got a team of 2 and you get an extra 1 billable hour in each day at $120 an hour, let's call it $100 an hour to be conservative. If you got in 2 extra billable hours a day, $200 a day, $1,000 a week, 50 grand a year. Everyone wants to see the 50. They want to see the 50. I got 50 grand extra a year. 50, 50, 50, 50. 50 comes from lots of hundreds, lots of 200s, lots of efficiency. I would encourage everyone, start to look at the jobs. How did the job go? How was the job handled? How did the day go? How was the day handled? If you can be faithful with the little and work out what's working and then replicate it, and then work out what's not working and then either give it up or change it, that's what you want to do, right? We say this a lot, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting a different result. result, right? That's what plumbers do. We hate plumbers here. We hate the plumbers. Look yourself in the mirror and be like, I hate the plumber, man. We hate the plumber. Anyway, now we love plumbers. Shout out to my friend Chris Yarrow. Go Flow Plumbing. Go Flow Plumbing. What a time to be alive. Anyway, so it's like work out what's working and work out what you're doing well, and chances are what you do well might be different to what someone else does well, but chances are your product has to remain at a high level. You've got to get back to people, you've got to return phone calls, you've got to get quotes out. The quote's got to be correct. It's no good just to get the quotes out. The quote's got to be sent at a profitable margin or markup or however the hell you're working. It's all irrelevant, right, at the end of the day, but the quote's got to be, it's got to be correct. It's got to be communicated well. The client's got to know what to expect when you get on site. And if you can build your reputation up, you can do some really good things. But snapping back to reality, M&M style, what are you going to do differently next financial year or this financial year, depending on when you're listening to this, to ensure a different result or to ensure a better result? Or to ensure the same result. Not all of us want to get to 30 staff and 160 vans. You might just want to be as profitable as you can be at your level that you're at. That's cool. I just don't think you're meant to make those decisions yet, right? You don't make those decisions. Once you're stable and once you're profitable and once you're doing some good work with some good people and doing some good things, then if an opportunity knocks at the door and you open the door, you can continue doing good things with a larger team, still making money, still moving products, still moving materials, still moving labor, because your foundations are correct. So now we can grow or not grow. It doesn't really matter. But you've got to do something about the foundations. You've got to do something about the big picture, which is that year. How did the year go? And doing something about the big picture is a lot less glamorous than you think. It's actually in the measuring of every job. It's in the reflection of every day. It's in the schedule for tomorrow. It's in the 1%ers. Don't just look at the forest from the trees. You've got to see the 1%ers. You've got to see what you could do differently. And it's not going to be as glamorous as you think it is. It's going to be mundane. It's going to be the same stuff every single day. How did that job go? What happened here? What can we do better tomorrow? Do I need to build a workflow? Do I need to change something? Do I need to get help here? Do I need to get coaching? What do I need to do to be doing the same thing but getting a better result? Because don't go through another day in business, another month in business, another year in business, just on that sort of treadmill, thinking you're running really fast, but you're getting nowhere. So I'd encourage anyone listening, be faithful with the little. Be faithful with the days. Be faithful with the hours. Be faithful with the minutes. Be faithful with your productivity. Be faithful with your time management. Be faithful with building that workflow. Be faithful with building that price book. Be faithful with honest, clear communicating to your clients and your staff members. Be faithful with that. Be faithful with the 1%ers, the seemingly things that aren't glamorous, and you'll do some amazing things. The bigger stuff will just happen because you're doing the little things well. The most comparable situation I can get to is, how do you go about roughing in a large house, right? You start in the downstairs, you start in the on downstairs lighting or downstairs power or sub-circuits, depending on, you look at the job and you're like, okay, they're sheeting the bathrooms next week, we better start here and get out of that section. Or they're sheeting downstairs first, we'll get into here first. You look at the cards you've been dealt, you look at the job, you suss it out and you're like, okay, sweet, we'll hit it in this way and then we'll build over from there. So it's like you don't get overwhelmed when you walk into a big job, you just do it one little job at a time. In a matter of fact, a big job's just a bunch of little jobs put together. So a big year for you, 2024, 2025 financial year, is just going to be, a big year is going to just be a bunch of little things put together, a bunch of a jigsaw put together well, orchestrated by a masterpiece, orchestrated by an architect. You are the architect of your life, of your business, and is it heading in the right direction? And I want to encourage you, get it in the right direction this year. Be as profitable as you can this year. Be as kind as you can this year. Be as I was going to say aggressive, but I mean not aggressive like raw, like jock footy head. I mean, not to say there's anything wrong with being a footy head, right? We all saw the Blues win the other night. Chakaka, go the Blues. But being aggressive in like getting after your dreams and getting after what you want and getting after everything your business could be and should be and will be if you are faithful with the little. Be faithful with the little, you do some big things. Peace.